What is the best South Park episode? The one where Randy Marsh takes it upon himself to become the worst school baseball dad in the state, believe it progresses to country, while the kids try to be the worst baseball team to get their summer back. Make love not Warcraft. The return of the Fellowship of the Rings to the Two Towers. Kyle's mom explaining the porn in Backdoor Sluts 9 at the end of the episode is possibly the funniest ending to any South Park episode. Butters turning into Golem, Gollum, after watching porn is also hilarious, spot on with the lore of the One Ring corrupting its bearer the way porn corrupted Butters, with Tolkien tapping out after seeing it. Edit, even Matt Stone and Trey Parker have said at one time or another that it's one of their favorite episodes of all time, too. So, there's that. Yeah. They say this about several episodes. But whatever. Edit 2, Tolkien, not Token. Jimmy and Timmy joining the Crips had me crying in tears, especially the scene where he's trying to say, down like a clown Charlie Brown. Casa Bonita. Christian rock band. Tolkien, you're black. You can play bass. Cartman joins Nam Black. Anything with Butters. His innocence and naivete always leads to hilarity. Butters' own episode is one of my all-time faves. How has no one mentioned the Dog Whisperer episode? That one was hilarious and probably one of my favorite episodes. Scott to Norman must die. Trapped in the closet. I don't know if it's the best, but the one we quote the most often is the 80s skiing movie / timeshare one. Standish. Dude, he's got Heather. You need a montage. The one they made into Book of Mormon. I went and saw the play. It's just a long-form South Park episode. What was really fun is the LDS Church bought all the playbill advertising, so as you looked at the cast biographies you saw ads for you like the play now read the book. Very clever tie-ins. Sitting in front of me, the whole row, was an LDS group. The parents were offended, the kids laughing hysterically. They managed to offend and yet redeem themselves in the end. But the best part of the evening was there was no line at the bar during intermission. Fun with weapons. The one where Wendy fights Cartman. They Turk our gerbs. Child abduction is not funny is my favorite episode. Osimo is definitely my favorite. Woodland Critter Christmas was fantastic. Also the one where they're tripping on cat piss and the hallucinations are the heavy metal cartoon movie. Butters bottom B / *TCH. Not the asterisk very best asterisk episode of all time, but I'm personally partial to Cream Fresh. City Sushi and City Walk episode made my day. The one where they pranked Kanye with the fish sticks joke. The medical weed one when all the dudes were giving themselves testicular cancer. Makin' movies, makin' songs and fightin' ruin the world. Sexual harassment panda. Fat beard. The way Cartman glorifies living as a Somalian pirate as a fun life of adventure and then actually trying to do it, along with the song, is comedic gold. Let's Fighting Love. The Wheel of Fortune episode https://www. Reddit. Imagination Land. Chin Pokemon. Margaritaville. Finger Bang episode, Coon episodes, Fat Camp, Goth Kids I can't fucking choose bro. Margarine is my fave. It's just them being typical dumb kids, but as usual things get way out of hand. All over a paper fortune teller. The Stephen King reference is funny, and the line "Oh son, you smell like bacon." I haven't seen it mentioned, but I really like Go God Go, S10E12, where Cartman travels through time to play the Nintendo Wii. Tree Fitty. Cock Magic is a recent great one that I think is one of the funniest ones in a while. The scene where Stan's mom is walking by the bathroom and hears Randy practicing cock magic, only to open the door to see him with some guy on a drum set always makes me laugh. Some all-time South Park quotes. Little girl. What's that behind your ear? Pulls out Randy's thing from behind her ear as all the kids scream in terror. AHHC it's the amazingly Randy. And what about the cock magic, where was that? Alright what kind of decks were they using? Oh I get it now. Cartman Special Olympics. Finally an AskReddit I have a solid answer to. Season 5 episode 13, Kenny dies. Cartman finds a truckload of aborted fetuses. He tries to sell them. Okay, you tell me where you can get aborted fetuses for 70 cents on the dollar. You tell me, Chuck. Yeah, I didn't think so. You know, I'm just like the fetuses, Chuck. I wasn't born yesterday, either. So are you gonna talk to me, or are we just gonna keep bullshitting each other? Breaking my balls, Chuck. But the government puts a ban on stem cell research. Instead of using the stem cells for research, he uses them to build a new Shakey's Pizza, and Kenny dies for real this time. They're all great, but these always stood out to me. Rainforest Schmating Forest S3 EP1. Grey Dawn S7 EP10. Die Hippie, Die S9 EP2. Major Boobage. The Underpants Gnomes episode and Tweak, 100% just classic, Spectacular South Park ridiculousness. Edit, if you are younger and have no idea what I'm talking about. Go back and watch a lot of the earlier episodes, specifically this one, and maybe the one with the pink Christina Aguilera monsters, haha. Taco flavored kisses. Crack Baby Athletic Association. Guitar Queero was great too. Any episode that includes Butters or Tweak is top gold for me. The Succubus, but the list is a close second. Helen Keller. The musical. To this day makes me cry laughing. No one said Cartoon Wars. They nailed the Family Guy cutaway style and the ending, where they find out the retaliation is just their own cartoon making fun of America, lives rent-free in my head. The Death Camp of Tolerance. Edit, child abduction is not funny is great as well. I'll start with the first episode that got me into it, the one where the internet breaks down. Also, the one with gluten, where everyone's dicks go flying off. And finally, the smug episode. Those are my top 3 in terms of favorite/best. Now, bigger, longer and uncut, which while a movie, is also an episode. One thing I know, my girl ain't no hobbit. The Last of the Mohicans. Can't believe no one here has said Passion of the Jew. Mystery of the Urinal Deuce. The Hardly Boys and the 9/11 conspiracy storyline. I Am Lord Yeah. The pandemic episodes. The sheer number of different answers here really is a testament to the quality of the show. I feel like for most TV shows there are like 5 or so great episodes that most people go to. But with SP there truly are too many good ones to choose from. Trapped in the Closet. The Lord of the Rings parody. Poor and Stupid. Crippled Summer. Edit, or Aspen. I don't have just one. There are a lot of great ones. Season 10 is gold pretty much from start to finish. The Death of Eric Cartman. Where Earth is a reality show for aliens, and gets cancelled by a taco that shits ice cream. When Cartman was Border Patrol keeping people from leaving the US. That one that ends with the killer whale dead on the moon with silent credits. Mr. Royal Pudding. What's a sign that someone grew up poor? I wasn't in the know with all the cool Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon shows. The mental struggle to buy anything and not feel guilty. Odd hoarding behaviors of things you probably should have gotten rid of out of fear you won't be able to replace them easily. I keep a stack of boxes broken down because there's still this fear in the back of my mind that I'll have to move again at a moment's notice. I make a decent salary now and have lived where I am for nearly 7 years, but I still can't part with those boxes despite the space they take up. Under the bed, behind the chest of drawers. Yet. Still being poor. Lack of exposure to cultural events. For me, I have what I call poverty mentality. While I can afford new shoes and clothes, they have to be falling apart for me to replace. Difficulty throwing things away. I grew up poor and my husband grew up middle class. Whenever we have guests, I am constantly asking people if they got enough food. Is anyone still hungry? I can make something else. My husband will inquire about the quality of the food and if it is to everyone's liking. Scanning the menu for the cheapest options possible when at a restaurant. Immense financial anxiety. Never buying clothing at full price. When I was in elementary school, a girl asked me why all my shirts were just solid color and not brand name logo shirts. Made me feel insecure. So I'm going to go with an obvious answer here, clothing and style. I still wear my clothes until they have holes and stains. I have the money to buy new brand name clothes, but why? In the US I'd say poor dental history or teeth. Dental work is a luxury. Overall, I'd say many hoarders grew up poor because they are so afraid of not having something if they'll need it, so they keep everything. A personal anecdote. For backstory, I'm the primary financial provider for my wife and I, but I really don't care what she does with our money. If our bills are paid and we have food to eat, I'm fine. I grew up fairly poor, so I never really bought anything for myself, or asked for anything to be bought for me. A few months ago a video game I had wanted to play was on sale for like $2.50, and I said to my wife, hey, can I buy this? Not really because I wanted permission but because I hadn't logged in to check our financial state and didn't know if the money was already set aside for bills. 50 game with your own money. Will eat all of the food on their plate, even after feeling full because they can't waste food. Still being marveled by an ice maker and side-by-side doors. I have poverty toes. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so shoes were worn until they died, regardless of fit. Hesitant to go to the doctor when medical care is needed because of copays, even if they can afford it. Spending any windfall money. The bone-deep certainty that money will just go away. There will always be another surprise bill or the car will break down. Having duplicates of essentials. When you can't finish a meal, pulling it apart to at least eat the meat because that's the expensive part. Or just force-feeding yourself any meal you buy because you have to feel like you didn't waste. Being hypersensitive to any light left on, door left open, opening the fridge too much, running water too long, etc., because you're trained to minimize utilities. Never pouring more than 1/2 a glass of any drink when at someone else's house, except water, because you don't want to be seen as wasteful/gluttonous. Eating dry ramen noodles like chips, collated with sugar and your finger to make your own fun dip, eating Kraft cheese slices/cold hot dogs/other things that are normally just a part of a meal. Little or no financial literacy. If you grew up poor, chances are you had no one around to teach you about how to manage things like mortgages, large amounts of savings, or how to budget past the point of juggling bills. It sucks because knowing how to do these things is such a useful skill, and can get you out of a lot of difficult situations if you play your cards right. Knowing how to manage money also prevents you from being taken advantage of by people and companies that don't have your best interest at heart. While I'm here, if you identify with this comment, please check out r/poverty finance and r/poverty finance Canada. I was told recently I was crazy for using bread instead of hot dog buns. That's just something I always did as it's what we had. In USMC recruit training we had a dude in our platoon who was homeless for an extended period of time before enlisting. Every morning at 0:30 the dis would come in, turn the light on, screaming, total chaos to wake us all up. Every single morning for the first 30 days or so of basic this dude slept right through it, face with tears of joy. Kid said he was so comfortable in his little rack and hadn't slept so good in a long time. He was always exclaiming how good the food was at the chow hall. Most of the time, people who were poor in childhood will be specially careful or stressed about money or expenses. Unless of course they are making a ton now, but if not, having been poor will make you more careful when using it. I'm really surprised I haven't seen condiment drawer here. When eating out, you save all of the unused condiments in a drawer. One day my girlfriend asked me why I'm washing Ziploc bags. I told her so we can reuse them later. First I need to introduce you to the Vim's Boots theory, which is a pretty spectacular summary of poverty by none other than Terry Pratchett, from the novel Men at Arms. The reason that the rich were so rich, Vim's reasoned, was because they managed to spend less money. Take Boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50. Those were the kind of boots Vim's always bought, and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Ankh-Morpork on a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while a poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. This was the Captain Samuel Vim's Boots theory of socio-economic unfairness. They've been conditioned that higher-priced goods are ostentatious or a luxury, rather than an investment. I saw this personally, having grown up middle class but having a parent who grew up poor and having my own dalliance with poverty in my 20s. Another good example is having a car that runs but needs constant maintenance. You simply don't have the money for a new car, so you have to keep paying for repairs. In the long run you pay much more to keep the clunker on the road than it would cost to buy a new car. Those experiences stay with you, and the habits they breed are very hard to shake. There's quite a bit. I didn't see them in myself until I was an adult and went to therapy. 1. Lack of basic wellness, e.g. no primary care doctor or dentist. Rationalizing this because there's a financial cost to it. 2. Serious guilt from buying anything you don't absolutely need. It's a feeling of you don't deserve this or you're being stupid to ever want something. 3. Working yourself to death because of a serious insecurity about returning to poverty. My therapist called this the never again work ethic. It's toxic. 4. Eating your food so fast like you will never have another meal again. My fiancé pointed this out to me that I did this, and it clicked when I talked with my therapist about it. It's very common. 5. General anti-establishment beliefs. The system failed you, so it's hard to trust something that put you through abuse. Missing teeth, and the other results of a lack of being able to go to the dentist. Only shopping in the clearance sections even after I grew up and started making good money. Turning down most social occasions. I'm a foster kid. I was always poor and pretty much had nothing. These are habits I have. I hoard food. They're still edible if they're past their expiration date as long as it's not moldy or something. My basement is stocked for a zombie apocalypse. I never throw out old containers unless they're moldy or something, clean that shit out, good as new. I also always have leftovers. I never waste food and eat everything on my plate. I feel guilty when I buy something I don't necessarily need. I add water to empty soap containers so they're full. I cut empty toothpaste tubes so I get every last drop. The disposable stuff don't need to be disposed most of the time. Realizing I wanted to have the house that all my kids' friends came over to hang out at because that wasn't really an option for big chunks of my childhood. Sentimentality. Not that wealthier people can't be sentimental. But my dad, whose parents grew up in the rural South during the Great Depression, wants to keep every little thing of my mom's. Everything. He would prefer to keep her bedroom as is. I always wondered why he wanted to keep it like that. But then I realized, the only thing we have left is my mom's ashes in an urn. There was no funeral, no memorial, she didn't want any, and there was no one to come anyways, no tombstone. Nothing that feels tangible, personal, etc. My mom's bedroom, and all her stuff, is the closest we will ever have to a memorial for my mom. Hoarding. Not to have 6 dead cats in your house hoarding. But the impulse to buy multiples of things just in case. Oh, this is on sale, let me buy a case of them just in case I might need it one day. It's a habit I've had to break myself. I distinctly remember what it feels like going without, and I don't want to ever feel like that again. So if I have to buy pants or shoes that are 2 sizes too large but they're cheap, I will. Enjoying cinnamon, sugar, and butter on a slice of bread because we couldn't afford sweet treats, smiling face with tear, it low-key slapped though. I went without food sometimes when I was growing up. It took a long time before I stopped hoarding food once I could afford it. My husband always commented on how long it would take me to go through the chocolate he would bring back from his international trips. I was always afraid it would be the last time we could get it and would make it last as long as humanly possible. I am quick to shut down spending, and I am much better at saving money than my husband. I still shop sales, and I don't understand things like renovating a perfectly fine kitchen just because you don't like the color of the countertop or cabinets. You guys got out of poverty. When I was still in the army, I did a tour in Korea. In Korea, all the men are required to do 2 years of national service. Some join the Korean National Police, some join the Korean Army, etc. Well, those that pass a certain level on their English exam become KATUSAs, or Korean augmentee to the United States Army, and come work with us. They're still Korean Army, but they wear our uniform, it says Katasa instead of US Army on the name tape, and live and work with us. Seriously, even though cleaning supplies were freely available to them, all they had to do was ask. You'd walk into their barracks room and find that they had washed paper towels and laid them out to dry. That's just one example. Sticking with the army theme, you'd see guys in boot camp sending almost their entire paychecks home to their folks because, as lousy as E1 with less than 4 months of service pay actually is, currently $1,773. Someone asked me if my kid was going to do dance or gymnastics. I was confused as to why. Their response was, didn't you do it as a kid? No, that cost money. I was talking to a woman who I was interested in. She kept asking me if I liked to do different activities. I grew up poor and my family had never had the money to do a lot of the things she was talking about. It really stuck in my head that not only were there a lot of things I hadn't done, but there were countless things which I hadn't even considered as possibilities because of a lack of money and lack of opportunity. So ever since then, I've been the kind of person to go out and try as many new things as possible. But when I talk to someone who hasn't done a lot of activities, I realize that that can be a sign of them having been poor and not a sign that they're uninterested in going out and being active and trying things. I grew up very poor, but now am doing quite well. I can't throw away shoes. I just accumulate athletic shoes, they go from running shoes to everyday shoes to working in the yard shoes. And then eventually my wife throws them away. I don't know why, but I can't do it. They're still good enough, I might need them one day. Edit, thanks, all. But what if I might need to rewear them someday? I could get my current shoes wet, or ruined, or they could wear out and fall apart. Having a vast skill set. Trust me, when you can't afford a repairman/hairdresser/seamstress/builder/roofer/welder/mechanic etc., you learn yourself. Never replacing anything unless there's absolutely no way to use the old thing anymore, and going to absurd lengths to keep something still usable. Never ordering pasta or any meal in a restaurant that doesn't include meat or some type of tangible value for the cost. Even if I really want pasta, I just can't accept spending $20 on pasta that cost pennies, even when a date across the table from me is ordering pasta that I'm going to pay for, which doesn't bother me, it will still only bother me if I do it. I make well over 6 figures, grew up poor, and still do all of the things mentioned here by others. Buying duplicates of items on sale. Never paying full price for anything. Even when I spend money on expensive items such as a home, motorcycle, luxury goods, I still have to go into it with getting the biggest bang for my buck rather than just going with what I want or feel. Aversion to certain foods they had to eat, I won't touch Cheerios. My friend runs a foster home for kids in need. She keeps an anytime pantry for the kids to help themselves anytime they want. Fruits and other healthy snacks. Anytime they want. I had the pleasure of splitting a banana with one of these kids. Made me so happy she does this. I'm tearing up typing this. This is to stop them from hoarding foods under the sheets of their bed. Lots of Cool Whip and Country Crock containers. Even when they have money to burn, they'll still be frugal as fuck. When I was young, I once got invited over to a friend's house for lunch and noticed they had a brick of USDA government-issued cheese. This was an eye-opener for me and the first time I realized I knew someone who was poor. I have an innate fear that if I don't spend all the money that I have on things I can enjoy, that someone will take my money and I'll have nothing to show for it. Intellectually I know this is a problematic knee-jerk reaction. It's compounded by the fact that not only did I grow up poor but that my mom was raised by my grandmother who grew up wealthy but lived through the Great Depression. Everyone in my family has this habit of acquiring things of personal value that others would be unlikely to want. Mine's been channeled into books, movies, and TV shows. I'm trying to be better about putting money into savings, but it's a long process of convincing my brain that if I leave the 100 in my savings account it will still be there next paycheck.